The unexpected meeting. The year was 2147. Earth had changed, but humans were still the same. Curious, ambitious, and always searching for more. For the first time in history, humans were about to meet an alien species face to face. The event was called the First Contact Summit, and every country was watching. Leaders, scientists, and soldiers gathered inside the orbital peace station, a massive floating city above Earth. Among them was James Carter, a 32-year-old human diplomat. He was not the smartest person in the room, nor the most powerful. But today, fate had chosen him for something no human had ever done before. He was going to shake hands with an alien ambassador. The arrival, the giant conference hall was silent. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the massive airlock doors at the far end. Bright white lights illuminated the polished floor, reflecting the tension in the air. A deep, mechanical hiss echoed through the hall as the doors slowly opened. And then, they appeared. 3 tall figures walked in, their bodies glowing faintly, their skin a strange shade between silver and blue. They moved gracefully, as if they were floating, their long robes shifting like liquid metal. The tallest among them stepped forward. Her name was Ambassador Lyra. Her eyes were unlike anything James had ever seen. Pure silver, without pupils, shining like distant stars. Her skin glimmered softly under the lights, and strange symbols glowed faintly along her arms. For a moment, James forgot to breathe. The handshake and announcement echoed through the hall. Today, history will remember this moment. The first greeting, between humans and the Vayari. James stepped forward slowly. He could feel the weight of billions of eyes watching from Earth, every camera fixed on him. Ambassador Lyra extended her hand, slender, elegant, covered in faint glowing patterns. James hesitated for just a second, then reached out. The moment their palms touched, everything changed. A shockwave of energy burst between them, invisible yet powerful. James felt it rush through his veins like liquid fire. His vision blurred, and for a split second he saw something. Flashes. Alien cities. Distant stars. Strange voices whispering in a language he couldn't understand. Lyra gasped softly, her glowing eyes widening. She looked at him, not with surprise, but almost with fear. And then, she pulled her hand back, trembling slightly. The silence after. The entire hall went quiet. James stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest. He glanced down at his palm and noticed something strange. A small glowing mark had appeared where her skin had touched his. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. "Are you all right?" whispered one of the human officials behind him. James nodded slowly, trying to hide his confusion. "Yeah, I think so." Ambassador Lyra said nothing. She simply bowed slightly and walked past him, followed by her guards. Her face was calm, but her silver eyes told a different story. James could swear she looked worried. The first warning. After the ceremony, James returned to his assigned quarters on the station. The room was small, quiet, and cold, but his mind was anything but calm. He kept staring at his palm. The glowing mark was still there, pulsing softly in rhythm with his heartbeat. Suddenly, the lights in his room flickered. A soft, melodic sound filled the air, and then without warning, Ambassador Lyra appeared on his comm screen. Her face looked tense. "James Carter," she said, her voice smooth but urgent. "We need to talk, alone." James frowned. "About the handshake?" Lyra hesitated. "Yes. Something happened, something that was not supposed to happen." Before James could ask more, the screen went black. Strange whispers. That night, James couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw visions, alien stars, strange symbols, and a child's cry echoing in the distance. He woke up gasping, drenched in sweat, and then he heard it, a soft voice, a whisper inside his head. "Protector. Chosen. The bridge between worlds." James froze. He looked around the room, but he was alone. His heart pounded. "What's happening to me?" he whispered under his breath. The glowing mark on his palm flared brightly as if responding to his fear. The suspicion. The next morning, James walked into the main council chamber. As he entered, he noticed something unusual. Several high-ranking human officials were staring at him, whispering. He also caught the gaze of the alien guards. Their usually calm, unreadable faces were now tense. Something was wrong. 2 words kept repeating in his mind. Not supposed. Why had Lyra looked so shocked? Why was there a glowing mark on his hand? And why did he hear voices, whispers, calling him protector? James didn't know it yet. But the handshake had changed everything. The strange revelation. James Carter hadn't slept all night. The mark on his palm was glowing brighter now, pulsing like a tiny heartbeat under his skin. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed inside him. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flashes of alien cities, strange symbols, and an endless sea of stars. And always, a voice whispered in his head, "Protector, chosen one, the bridge must live." He didn't understand what it meant, but deep down, he felt it. This was no ordinary handshake. The summons at exactly 7:00, James received an encrypted message on his terminal. "Come to docking bay 17, alone. Lyra." His chest tightened. Something told him this wasn't about diplomacy anymore. When he arrived, the docking bay was dark and empty, lit only by the faint blue glow of Earth far below. Then, out of the shadows, Ambassador Lyra appeared. Her silver eyes shone brighter than before, and her usually calm face looked tense, almost frightened. "James Carter," she said softly, "you must listen carefully. We don't have much time." The impossible truth. Lyra glanced around as if expecting spies. Then, in a low, urgent voice, she said the words that would change his life forever. "I'm carrying your child." James blinked. He thought he misheard. "Your what?" Lyra stepped closer. Her glowing skin shimmered faintly, her voice trembling. "When we touched, our life energies merged. Among my kind, such a bond is sacred. Our DNA aligned. Now, within me, there is life. A life connected to you." James stared at her, stunned. His voice cracked. "Lyra, that's impossible. Humans and aliens." "It doesn't matter," she interrupted sharply. "The bond is real. The child is real." He stepped back, trying to breathe, trying to make sense of it. But then he saw something in her eyes. Fear. "What aren't you telling me?" he whispered. Lyra hesitated, then said the words that made his blood run cold. "If this child dies, your species and mine, or we'll go to war." The threat, before James could respond, a loud metallic clang echoed from above. The docking bay lights flickered, and red warning symbols appeared on the walls. Lyra's expression hardened. "They've found us," she said. "Who?" James asked. Before she could answer, security drones dropped from the ceiling, aiming their weapons at them. "Target located." A robotic voice announced. "Subject Carter, Subject Lyra, Priority 1, detain or neutralize." Lyra's silver eyes blazed with anger. She raised her hand and a pulse of energy exploded outward, knocking the drones to the ground like broken toys. James stumbled back, stunned. You have powers?" Lyra grabbed his arm. "No time. We have to move, now. Escape through the station." They sprinted through the empty corridors of the orbital peace station. Sirens blared, alarms echoed everywhere. James could hear heavy boots pounding behind them. Human security forces were closing in. "Why are my own people chasing us?" he gasped. Lyra didn't look back. "Because they fear what's inside me. A hybrid child could unite our worlds, or destroy them. Some humans want control, others want me dead." "And what about your people?" James asked breathlessly. Lyra's silence was answer enough. The whispers grow stronger as they ran. James felt a sudden jolt in his mind. The whispers grew louder, clearer. Protect the seed, the bridge must live, danger come. He stumbled but kept running. Lyra, he said, panting. I keep hearing things, voices. They keep calling me. Protect her. Lyra glanced at him sharply. Then it's true, she whispered. What's true? She hesitated, then said, The child is already linking us. It's sharing visions, thoughts, memories. The bond is deeper than I feared. The betrayal, they reached an airlock leading to a restricted sector. James typed in his clearance code, but instead of unlocking, the console blared a red warning. Access denied. Suddenly, voices shouted from behind them. A squad of armed human soldiers appeared, led by Commander Reeves, James's old friend. James, Reeves yelled. Step away from the alien. She's dangerous. James raised his hands. Reeves, listen to me. It's not what you think. Don't make me do this, Reeves said, leveling his rifle. You're under orders. Come with us, now. James hesitated, torn between loyalty and instinct. Lyra grabbed his hand and whispered, If we're captured, they'll cut the child out of me. Choose, James. His heartbeat roared in his ears. For a long moment, no one moved. Then James made his choice. He lunged forward, grabbing Reeves's arm and knocking his rifle aside. Lyra unleashed another energy blast, and they vanished into the shadows. Before the soldiers could react. The hidden message, they finally stopped inside an abandoned cargo bay. James leaned against the wall, panting, trying to process everything. Lyra, he said, what is happening to me? To us? She reached out and gently touched the glowing mark on his palm. This is not just a symbol, it's a key. You've been chosen by forces older than both our species. James frowned. To protect the stellar heir, our child. But you don't understand, James. There are others who know what this means. Ancient forces. They will come for us. Before James could respond, his comm device buzzed violently. He glanced down. It was a classified message intercepted from Earth's military command. Project Starfall. Terminate the hybrid before it's born. Status. Authorized. James felt his stomach drop. The impossible prophecy James Carter thought he had seen. Everything. He was wrong. Running through the orbital peace station's lower decks, chased by both human soldiers and alien hunters, he felt his life spiral out of control. Yesterday, he was a diplomat. Today, he was a fugitive, accused of treason. And tomorrow, he wasn't sure he'd even be alive to see it. Beside him, Ambassador Lyra moved silently, her glowing silver eyes scanning every shadow. In her, James could sense more than fear. She carried a secret. One she hadn't told him yet. The safe house. After hours of evasion, they finally reached a hidden section of the station. Sector 9, an old maintenance zone sealed off after a reactor leak years ago. Lyra placed her palm on a strange triangular device. The walls shimmered and dissolved, revealing a hidden chamber. James followed her inside. The door resealed behind them, cutting off the alarms and distant footsteps. The room was filled with alien tech, floating crystals, holographic star maps, and strange symbols glowing faintly on the walls. Where are we? James whispered. Lyra turned slowly, her expression grave. This place is called the Sanctum of Echoes. My ancestors built it centuries ago. It holds knowledge that your people must never see. James frowned. Why bring me here, then? She hesitated, then touched his glowing palm. Because you are already part of it. The hidden record Lyra activated a crystal at the center of the room. Suddenly the walls lit up with a massive holographic projection, a rotating spiral galaxy. Then an alien voice filled the chamber, deep and haunting. When the bridge is born, two worlds shall unite, or both shall burn. James stared at Lyra. What is this? She spoke softly, almost reverently. It's the prophecy of the stellar heir. My people believe that one day, a child born of two species will decide the fate of both. Some see it as hope. Others see it as danger. James clenched his fists. And now that's us? Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, our child is the stellar heir. The first attack before James could respond, a sudden explosion rocked the chamber. The door burst open. Armed human soldiers stormed in, led by Commander Reeves. James, Reeves shouted, weapon raised. Step away from her. Hand over the alien. James raised his hands. Reeves, listen to me. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, Reeves snapped. That thing inside her is a threat to every human alive. Orders are clear. Terminate it. Lyra's silver eyes blazed with fury. Your leaders fear what they cannot control, she hissed. But this child is not a weapon. It's a chance. Reeves ignored her and signaled his men. Take them both. James awakens. The soldiers advanced. James felt his pulse race. His mark burned brighter, hotter, like liquid fire under his skin. And then, something inside him snapped. Suddenly, a shockwave erupted from his body, hurling the soldiers back like rag dolls. The air crackled with energy. Sparks danced across the walls. James stood frozen, breathing hard, staring at his own hands. What did I just do? Lyra's voice was calm, but her eyes were wide. The bond is waking inside you, she whispered. The child's energy flows through both of us now. You are no longer just human, James. You are becoming something more. The alien hunters, before they could escape, another group entered. But these weren't human. 3 tall, armored Vayari warriors stepped out of the shadows, weapons glowing with alien energy. Lyra stiffened. My people's High Council has sent hunters, she said bitterly. They don't want the prophecy fulfilled either. James looked between the soldiers and the hunters. So, humans want us dead, aliens want us dead. Great. One of the Vayari warriors pointed at Lyra and spoke in a harsh, echoing voice. Surrender the unborn hybrid, or face erasure. Lyra raised her chin defiantly. You'll have to kill me first. James clenched his fists, feeling energy pulse beneath his skin. They'll have to go through me. The escape, a brutal fight erupted. Blinding energy blasts, ricocheting bullets, and collapsing walls filled the chamber. James moved on instinct, dodging attacks he shouldn't have been able to see coming. Each time he touched the glowing mark on his palm, a pulse of raw power surged outward, knocking enemies aside. But the numbers were against them. James! Lyra shouted. The escape route, now! She grabbed his arm and together they dove through a hidden corridor just as the chamber exploded behind them. The message from the stars breathless. They stopped inside an observation dome overlooking the endless void of space. Stars glittered outside, but one in particular glowed brighter than the rest, a massive pulsating blue star far in the distance. Lyra touched the glass, her voice trembling. It's begun. James frowned. What has? She turned to him slowly, silver eyes locking on his. The signal. That star is sending a call, and only the heirs can hear it. James blinked. You're saying something out there knows about our child? Lyra nodded gravely. And it's coming. The war within. The alarms on the orbital peace station never stopped. Red lights flashed. Sirens screamed. Somewhere deep within the station, something exploded, shaking the metal floors beneath James Carter's boots. James stood at the observation window, staring into the endless void of space. And there it was. A massive alien fleet had just emerged from hyperspace, hundreds of glowing ships moving like silent predators toward Earth. Beside him, Ambassador Lyra placed a hand on the glass, her silver eyes reflecting the distant lights. They're here, she whispered. The Vayari Ascendancy. James frowned. Not your people? Lyra shook her head slowly. No. These are ancient enemies. And if they've come, it's because they've sensed the stellar air inside. Me. The trap tightens before James could reply. The chamber doors slammed open. Commander Reeves stormed in, flanked by soldiers in black combat armor. Their rifles were raised, ready to fire. "James," Reeves barked, his face pale and tense. "Step away from her now." James raised his hands, trying to reason with him. "Reeves, listen. There's a whole alien armada out there. We need to work together." But Reeves cut him off, his voice cold. "Orders are orders. The Council says the hybrid is a threat. My job is to end it." Lyra's silver gaze hardened, and James could feel the energy radiating from her. "Reeves," James said quietly, "if you try to hurt her, you'll have to go through me." Reeves hesitated for a split second, then lowered his rifle slightly. "James, don't make me do this." The awakening. Before either side could act, a violent rumble shook the entire station. Through the observation window, James saw one of the alien fleet's massive ships fire a beam of energy directly at the station. The impact tore through several decks. Explosions rocked the walls. Soldiers screamed as the room plunged into chaos. James felt the mark on his palm burn like fire. His vision blurred, and then, suddenly, everything slowed down. He could see sparks frozen mid-air, hear distant screams, like whispers, feel vibrations through the metal floor as if time itself had stretched. Lyra grabbed his hand, her voice distant yet crystal clear. "James, the bond is waking." In that moment, he understood. The child's energy wasn't just inside her, it flowed through him, and then time snapped back, instinct took over. James raised his hand, and a wave of blinding energy erupted from his palm, creating a shimmering force shield around them. The alien blast struck, but the shield held. Reeves and his soldiers froze, staring in shock. James lowered his hand, his chest heaving. "What did I just do?" Lyra whispered, almost in awe. "You're becoming the protector." The first battle moments later, the docking bay erupted into chaos. Alien strike teams boarded the station through burning hull breaches, their weapons glowing with blue plasma. Human soldiers fought back, bullets tearing through metal walls, but the aliens were faster, stronger. James and Lyra moved through the chaos, dodging falling debris and flying energy bolts. The mark on James's palm glowed brighter with each passing second, and whenever danger came too close, a pulse of power burst from his body, protecting them both. But then James saw something that stopped him cold. Bayari hunters, Lyra's own people, had also arrived, and they weren't fighting the Velari invaders. They were fighting humans. James turned to Lyra, his voice shaking. "Your people, they're betraying us?" Lyra's face was unreadable. "No, they're betraying me." The message amid the chaos, James's comm device buzzed violently again. He glanced at the intercepted feed. It wasn't human. It wasn't alien. It was something older. Priority transmission. Unknown source. Protector, hear us. The stellar air is the key. The fleets will burn. Find the heart of Sol before they do. James stared at Lyra. "What's the heart of Sol?" Lyra looked pale, almost afraid. "It's a weapon," she whispered. "Something buried deep beneath your sun. If they reach it first, Earth won't survive." The betrayal, just as James processed her words, Reeves grabbed him from behind, pressing a shock blade against his neck. "I warned you, James," Reeves growled. "The Council gave me my orders." Lyra raised her hand, silver energy crackling at her fingertips, but James shook his head. "No, Lyra. Don't," he whispered. "They're lying to you, James. The alien fleet isn't here to kill us. They're here because of her. She's hiding something." James froze. "What are you talking about?" Before Reeves could answer, a plasma bolt from the alien hunters struck him in the chest. Reeves fell, coughing blood, but his last words echoed in James's ears. "Don't trust her." The signal. The battle raged on, but James barely heard it. His mind was spinning, his heartbeat pounding like thunder. Was Reeves, right? Was Lyra hiding the full truth? Before he could ask, the mark on his palm flared painfully bright. Suddenly, his vision went black, replaced by a field of endless stars. And there, standing in the void, was a figure of pure light. Its voice echoed inside his skull. Protector. The air must reach the heart. If you fail, everything dies. James gasped, falling to his knees, clutching his palm as the vision ended. Lyra knelt beside him, gripping his shoulders. James, what did you see? He looked up at her, his voice trembling. A warning. A countdown. Secrets of the stellar. Ere the orbital peace station was dying, chunks of metal drifted into the void. Fires raged inside broken corridors, and escape pods shot away like falling stars. James Carter stood on the shattered deck, staring at the distant alien fleet. Hundreds of glowing ships floated silently, surrounding Earth like a steel noose. Beside him, Ambassador Lyra placed a trembling hand on her stomach. The faint glow beneath her skin was brighter now. They're closing in, she whispered. They can sense the child. James clenched his fists, his palm burning where the glowing mark pulsed with each heartbeat. The whispers in his head were louder than ever. Protect her. Run. Protect the air. Before the hunters arrive. The decision, a small escape shuttle, awaited them in Docking Bay 12. Its pilot, a young engineer named Aaron Malik, had risked everything to get it ready. Hurry, Aaron shouted, waving them aboard. We've got 2 minutes before the next boarding wave hits. Lyra hesitated, looking back at the crumbling station. My people will call me a traitor for this, she said softly. James grabbed her hand. Then let them. I'm not letting anyone take our child. As they boarded, the shuttle's engines roared to life. Through the viewport, James saw dozens of alien strike crafts launching from the fleet. They're locking onto us, Aaron warned. Hold on. The pursuit. The shuttle blasted away from the station, plunging into the blackness of space. Almost instantly, 3 alien interceptors broke formation and gave chase. Blue plasma bolts streaked past, shaking the shuttle violently. Aaron cursed under his breath, pulling hard on the controls. They're faster than us, James muttered, gripping his seat. Lyra closed her eyes, her silver pupils glowing faintly. I can mask us, she whispered. For a moment. James stared at her. Mask us? How? Lyra placed both hands on the console and a soft wave of shimmering energy spread across the shuttle. The sensors went dead. The interceptors hesitated. For a moment, James thought it worked. Then one of the alien ships fired anyway. The blast hit the shuttle's wing, sending them spiraling toward the dark side of Luna's surface. The crash. The shuttle smashed into a jagged canyon on the moon's far side, skidding violently before coming to rest against a wall of ancient rock. James stumbled out, coughing, his ears ringing. Aaron dragged himself from the wreckage, bleeding from a cut on his forehead. Lyra, however, stood perfectly, still staring at something in the shadows of the canyon. James, she whispered, pointing ahead. Look, the forgotten temple. Half buried beneath centuries of lunar dust stood a colossal alien structure. Tall obsidian pillars rose like fangs from the ground, glowing faintly with strange blue symbols. At its center was a sealed door, pulsing with the same rhythm as the mark on James's palm. James stepped closer, his voice barely audible. What is this place? Lyra's expression darkened. The Vault of Sol, she whispered. Built before your species even learned fire. My people sealed it because of what's inside. And what's inside? James asked cautiously. Lyra hesitated. Answers. And maybe extinction. The Guardian. As James reached for the door, a massive figure emerged from the shadows. A construct of alien metal and shifting energy. Its voice boomed like thunder. Protector identified. Access granted. Warning, unauthorized heirs detected. Engage defensive protocol. 2 more constructs materialized, their limbs glowing with lethal energy. Aaron raised his weapon, but James stopped him. No, let me try. He raised his marked hand and the glowing symbol flared brightly. The Guardians paused, scanning him, and then stood down. Protector status confirmed. The Central Guardian said, "The heart of Saul awaits." Lyra turned, sharply. "The heart is here?" The Guardian nodded once. "The weapon sleeps until the heir awakens." The revelation, inside the temple, holographic constellations filled the chamber. At the center floated a crystalline sphere, glowing faintly with swirling energy. Lyra touched the surface gently, her voice shaking. "This is the heart of Saul, a living weapon forged by the first civilizations, designed to reshape entire star systems." James stared in disbelief. "A weapon? Tied to our child?" Lyra nodded gravely. "The stellar heir isn't just a symbol, James, it's the key to controlling this." Before James could respond, a voice echoed from behind them. "Well?" A familiar voice drawled. "Then I guess I showed up just in time." James spun around and froze. Commander Reeves stood there, alive. But his eyes weren't human anymore. The corruption Reeves's pupils glowed faintly blue, his veins laced with strange bioluminescent patterns. "You should have listened to me, James," said his voice deeper, layered with an alien undertone. "Lyra didn't tell you everything." James stepped forward cautiously. "Reeves, what happened to you?" Reeves smiled coldly. "I made a deal. The Velari offered me power. In exchange, the battle for the heart, the vault of Saul was no longer silent. Its obsidian walls shook violently as explosions tore across the lunar canyon above. Outside, alien strike crafts clashed with human gunships, their weapons turning the black lunar sky into a storm of fire and light. Inside the temple, James Carter stood between Ambassador Lyra, the heart of Saul, and a man he once called his friend, Commander Reeves. But Reeves wasn't human anymore. His veins glowed faint blue, his eyes burned with alien light, and his voice carried an unnatural echo. "Step aside, James," Reeves said coldly. "The Velari gave me power, and in return I'll give them the heir." James clenched his fists, the mark on his palm burning white-hot. Energy crackled around him like static lightning. "Over my dead body," James growled. Reeves smiled darkly. "That can be arranged." "The war begins." Reeves raised his alien weapon, a blade made of condensed plasma, and charged. James reacted instinctively. His glowing palm surged with raw power, forming a translucent energy shield that blocked Reeves's first strike. Sparks exploded around them as the shockwave rattled the chamber. "James!" Lyra shouted, her silver eyes blazing. "Don't kill him. He's being controlled." But Reeves's movements were too precise, too cold. "I am not controlled," Reeves hissed. "I've evolved." Suddenly, the Temple Guardians, the massive constructs of alien metal, activated their defense protocols. Their voices boomed like thunder, unauthorized forces detected, initiating containment. Blue energy spears shot through the air, forcing James, Reeves, and Lyra to scatter. The awakening blast struck near James, throwing him against the temple wall. His vision blurred, and for a moment, the chaos faded, replaced by stars. He was somewhere else, floating in an endless void. Before him stood a figure of living light, neither human nor alien, but something far older. "Protector," the being said, its voice echoing in his mind. "You are unbound now. The heir's energy flows through you. Use it, or lose everything." James stared at his glowing palm, energy coursing beneath his skin. I don't know how." "You don't need to know," the being whispered. "Just feel." Suddenly, James was back in the temple, but something had changed. The ground beneath his feet vibrated softly as though answering him. When Reeves lunged again, James didn't block this time. He caught the plasma blade with his bare hand. The weapon dissolved instantly, absorbed into the burning mark on his palm. Reeves froze, his corrupted eyes widening. Impossible. James's own voice sounded deeper, stronger. Not impossible. Inevitable. Ange for the air. Lyra's expression hardened. You fool. You have no idea what you've unleashed. Reeves raised a weapon glowing with alien energy. Oh, I know exactly what I've unleashed. The heart of Saul pulsed violently, responding to the tension in the room. The whispers in James's mind became a deaf. The enemy revealed before James could act. The heart of Saul pulsed violently, projecting a vast holographic map of the galaxy. A single black void glowed at its center, an entity larger than entire star systems. Lyra's face paled. No, this isn't the Velari fleet, she whispered. This is something else. James frowned. What is it? She hesitated before answering. The architect. James shook his head. Who the hell is that? Lyra's voice trembled. Not who. What? The architect built the heart of Saul, built my people, maybe even yours. And if the heir awakens, the architect wakes too. Reeves laughed bitterly. Exactly, that's why the Velari want the child, not to destroy it, but to control the architect. The chamber went silent for a moment as the realization sank in. This wasn't just about Earth anymore. This wasn't even about the Velari. This was about something far older and far more dangerous. The battle turns. Suddenly, the ceiling above them exploded. Velari shock troops poured into the temple, firing plasma rifles that tore through the ancient stone. Human strike teams dropped in from the other side, weapons blazing caught in the middle. James raised his hands, focusing on the energy flowing through him. The mark on his palm erupted in a wave of raw force, knocking both sides back and creating a momentary silence. James stood between them, breathing hard. You're all fighting the wrong enemy, he shouted. The real threat isn't here. It's coming. But neither side listened. The Velari general snarled. The air belongs to us, the human commander screamed back. Over our dead bodies. And the fighting exploded again. The heart reacts. The heart of Saul began pulsing faster, brighter, as though feeding on the chaos around it. Lyra's eyes widened. James, it's responding to conflict. The closer we come to war, the closer it comes to awakening. James realized the truth in an instant. If the heart fully activated now, it could wipe out the entire solar system. Suddenly, the Guardians turned toward James, their booming voices unified. Protector, stabilize the heart. Protect the air, or all will burn. But before James could act, Reeves struck again, slamming him against the crystalline core of the heart. Energy surged through James's body, flooding his mind with visions. Burning. Worlds, collapsing stars, endless screams, and one whispered name over and over. Architect. 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 The twist. Just as Reeves prepared to finish him, the heart released a massive energy burst, throwing everyone backward. When James opened his eyes, the entire chamber was silent. Dozens of soldiers, human and alien, alike, lay unconscious. Lyra crawled toward him, trembling. James, what happened? He stared at the heart, which was now glowing brighter than ever. It's awake, he whispered. The heart of Saul is awake. Then, without warning, a deep, inhuman voice filled the temple. At last, my heir has come home. Lyra froze. That voice? No, it can't be. James turned to her sharply. Who is it? She looked into his eyes, terrified. The architect, she whispered. It's been waiting for us. The heir of two worlds. The moon trembled. Above its silent surface, a colossal shadow blotted out the stars. A structure larger than any fleet, older than any civilization. The architect had arrived. Inside the vault of Saul, James Carter stood frozen, staring at the alien structure that now hung above the canyon like a sleeping god. His glowing palm burned with an almost unbearable heat, the whispers in his head louder than ever. Protector, bring me the air. Obey, or watch your world turn to ash. The calm before the storm, the heart of Sol hovered in the center of the chamber, glowing brighter than a newborn star. Lyra stood beside James, holding her stomach, her face pale but determined. It knows the air is awake, she whispered. The architect has waited, for this. Aaron Malik, bloodied and exhausted, staggered into the chamber, clutching his rifle. What? What is that thing? Lyra's voice trembled. Not a ship, not a god. It's a machine older than both our species. It built my people, it might have built yours. James's jaw tightened. And now it wants our child. The architect speaks. The air vibrated as a deep, resonant voice filled the chamber. A voice that wasn't heard so much as felt inside their bones. I am the architect, maker of stars, shaper of life. For eons I have waited for the bloodlines to merge. The air must return to me. James clenched his fists, his palm glowing like fire. You're not taking our child, he growled. The architect's voice rumbled like distant thunder. Protector, you misunderstand. The air is not yours. The air is mine. The choice before James could respond. The Velari forces stormed into the chamber, their general raising a weapon forged from alien crystal. Kill them both, the general snarled. The architect cannot have the air. At the same time, human strike teams arrived, weapons drawn. Secure the heart. Terminate the alien, their commander shouted. Suddenly, the guardians of the A vault activated, their deep voices booming like ancient drums. Warning, destabilization imminent. Cease conflict or face planetary annihilation. But no one listened. Energy bolts, bullets, plasma beams, screams. The chamber erupted into chaos. James unleashed. James closed his eyes, forcing himself to breathe as the battle raged around him, and then he let go. The mark on his palm exploded in white light. Energy surged through him like a living storm. The ground cracked beneath his feet as a sphere of shimmering force burst outward, knocking humans, Velari, and even the temple guardians aside. James hovered slightly above the ground, his voice deeper, layered with power. Enough. The entire battlefield froze. The heart of Sol pulsed violently, resonating with his energy. Its swirling patterns aligned perfectly with the mark on his palm. For the first time, James understood everything. The air wasn't just a child. It was a key, a living conduit designed to unlock the architect. The betrayal. James, Lyra whispered urgently, we have to destroy the heart. If the architect connects with the air, it'll rewrite everything, your world, mine, even the Velari. But before James could answer, a familiar voice spoke behind them. Don't listen to her. James spun around to see Commander Reeves, still corrupted, his veins glowing blue, his eyes burning with alien light. The architect isn't our enemy, Reeves said softly. It's our creator. Give it the air, James. Become part of something infinite. Lyra stepped forward, silver energy crackling at her fingertips. He's lying, she hissed. The architect doesn't want to save us. It wants to consume us. James looked between them, his heart pounding. Who was telling the truth? The voice. Within suddenly, the whispers in his head shifted. Protector. The air will choose. You must guide it, or perish. James staggered as a pulse of energy burst from Lyra's stomach. The glow beneath her skin intensified, and a faint rhythmic hum filled the air. The air was awake, and it was calling to the heart. The arrival outside, the architect's structure unfurled like a blooming flower, releasing streams of golden energy that wrapped around the moon. Earth's defense grid went offline instantly. The Velari fleet's weapons powered down. Even the heart itself began vibrating violently. Aaron shouted, panic in his voice. If that thing connects fully, the heart will overload. It'll wipe out the entire solar system. Lyra turned to James, tears in her glowing eyes. James, We have to choose, save the air, or destroy the heart. The final stand. Reeves lunged at them, plasma blade raised high. James caught his strike mid-air, channeling the full force of his energy. With a roar, he sent Reeves crashing into the temple wall unconscious. The Velari general charged next, and James unleashed a blinding wave that disarmed the entire squad in one pulse. But it wasn't enough. The architect's voice returned, louder, commanding, "Protector, give me the air, or watch existence fall to chaos." James hesitated, torn between his duty and his heart. Lyra whispered, her hand on his. "James, trust me." He looked into her silver eyes and made his choice. The choice. James placed his glowing palm against the heart of Saul. "Protector override," he whispered. The heart screamed. Energy exploded through the vault, shaking the entire moon. The architect roared in fury as the heart's crystalline surface fractured, releasing a wave of power so bright it drowned out the stars. Then, silence. When James opened his eyes, the heart was gone. The architect's colossal form had vanished. The Velari fleet retreated without a word. The human ship